Hi everyone, welcome to our first live artist talk at the Presa House Gallery. My name is Hector Garza and I will be the moderator for this talk. Due to the current crisis that we are all facing as a country, we've decided to bring you this artist talk through this virtual portal. And in an effort to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, we at the Presa House Gallery are leading by example and practicing social distancing. Hence why I am coming to you from my home studio here in San Antonio, Texas. It's going to be a little bit different for us to get this done, but with Rigo's masterful work, we are able to bring this to you and share with you the amazing work of these artists. And so for me, it's always an honor and a pleasure to be hosting as moderator. I get to meet some incredible young artists, some established, some that are emerging and just barely taking those first crucial steps into forming their career and shaping their aesthetic. So it's always a great experience for me to be leading these conversations and to opening up questions to the audience, to the community. So with that in mind, it is with great pleasure that I introduce our artists who are currently showing at the Presa House Gallery, Fernando Andrade and Joe Peña.
I'm Fernando Andrade. I'm a full-time artist, and I'm from Acuña, Coahuila, which is a border town west of San Antonio. It's about 2.5 hours away.
My name is Joe Peña, Associate Professor of Art at Texas A&M University Corpus Christi. I was born in Laredo, Texas, but grew up in a small town called Mirando City, which is about 30 minutes west of Laredo. We lived there until was about third grade when my family decided to move to Corpus Christi.
What was your experience growing up? And when did the first spark of art enter your life?
It was when I was a freshman in high school. It was required to take an art class. So I was fortunate enough to have a professor who was in her last year before retiring. She was super encouraging. And that's when I was introduced to drawing, painting, ceramics, photography, art history. And that's when I became interested in that creative side of me.
It was about fourth grade when I really started becoming interested in the arts, drawing a lot, really. My mother used to draw quite a bit, and I used to watch her, and my father would draw these funny little cats that I just loved.
If you attended school for art or other fields of study, what year did you begin your studies and what was your experience like throughout this time in school? And that could have been university or art school.
So I started the graphic design program back in 2004 over at SAC. And as a requirement, I had to take a drawing one and drawing two classes. And that's where I met Mark Pritchett, which was a professor who's now retired. And he really encouraged me to push the conceptual side of my work, to experiment with different materials and just different ideas. But overall, it made a huge impact on the way I think about my work now. So I do miss those years. Another important thing that happened during those college years were the critiques. The studio critiques were important. I think they're important for any artist.
I really became interested in drawing and painting in high school, and after that went to Del Mar College, where I really started pursuing a degree in the arts. Afterwards went over to Corpus Christi State University, which is now Texas A&M University Corpus Christi, and there I really pursued the arts. Interestingly enough, I really wanted to become an animator. I was really interested in animation. I still am, but once I took my first painting class, it just really stuck with me.
Who were some of your mentors who guided you along the way?
I've been very blessed to have amazing people around me that guide me and support me. Two names come to mind: Michael McGowan and Sebastian Guajardo. With Michael, he was a docent at the McNay, so we've had amazing conversations on exhibits they've had there, or just about specific pieces that are in the permanent collection. His passion for knowledge, for wanting to learn more, was something that I look up to, and that I now think about. That willingness to keep learning. Also, his collection of art, sharing his collection with me, or knowing more about his collection, has motivated me to start collecting. For my personal, just for my life. With Sebastian, one of the things that I've learned has been the level of professionalism, to have a high standard of the materials that I use, meeting deadlines, working with contracts, or using contracts, and those are things that I use and I will continue to use throughout my art career.
My high school art teacher, Linda Jones, who I'm still friends with, had a big impact on me at that time. But I also have two cousins who are fine painters themselves, Nola Guajardo and Nora Verdin, and received their master's degree in painting outside of Texas. Both really encouraged me to pursue it even further. After high school, I went to Del Mar College to receive my associates, and then I went to Corpus Christi State University, where now Texas A&M University, but where I really discovered painting quite a bit under my former mentor, Fernando Andrade. After about a year or so, he saw how serious I was about it and allowed me to become a studio assistant of his, where I would stretch canvas and clean brushes and of that sort. And really meaningful lessons that I learned during that time. And he really taught me what was it like, or what it meant to be a professional artist. Another mentor at that time was Michael Lathrop, who again allowed me to be a studio assistant. But Michael Lathrop also had invited me to help open up the gallery in New York City at that young age, which opened up so many more opportunities.
What has been the most rewarding point in your life?
So, coming from humble beginnings, I've been very fortunate to have had many rewarding moments in my life. Many of these things, like, I didn't even know were possible. So it's really difficult to choose one.
That's a broad question, so I'm going to keep it within the arts, of course. But I would say continuing to serve as an instructor at Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi, has been absolutely wonderful. Just the opportunity to see young artists continue to grow and develop has been a wonderful thing to see, and I really enjoy quite a bit.
What draws you to this particular subject in your process of art making? How do you form an idea?
My drawings and my paintings work very different when it comes to ideas, and also the process itself. With my drawings, I see an image in my head, and I know how it's going to look, more or less. Or if it's a body of work, sometimes I see the entire series project in my head. But I know that's been sometimes years in the making. With my paintings, I push myself by standing in front of the canvas and letting the colors and the shapes build organically. In a way, it's an exercise to let the subconscious just create, to let the subconscious create without interruption.
On the surface, I'm fascinated with mark making, transparency, lighting, color in painting, and these nightscapes that I've been working with and these medium that I've been exploring allows me to really take advantage and explore these qualities that I enjoy in painting. Ideas tend to come in numerous forms, from something more concrete like window lighting or street light or even a poorly lit sign, to something more obscure such as family members, deceased family members, family arguments. So it comes in various forms.
Why do you choose the materials or mediums instead of others? What techniques do you use? Is there a connection between your process and your artwork's message?
So I want to go back to Mark Pritchett, the professor that I had back in drawing class, um, who really pushed me to think about the materials and the techniques to go along with the concept. There's a piece that I have in the exhibit which is titled Algodón, cotton, which is it's a portrait using a cross-hatching technique. It's graphite on paper, and in the bottom part it has hand embroidered cotton, and that one talks about the Mexican community or the Mexican American community that used to pick cotton, back in the days here in Texas, Louisiana. And I think that's a perfect example of how the material and the technique goes along with the concept behind the piece. I wanted to show repetition in the piece, so I did cross hatching, and also like the hand quality of the embroidery. The material is cotton made in Mexico, referencing to this person. His name is Margarito. He was born in Mexico. So that kind of gives you an idea of how a piece has multiple layers, from the technique, the material that you use, what you want to say. Yeah. So.
I work in a variety of mediums, but primarily my two are ink and oil, not combined obviously. But for this exhibition I've been showing my ink drawings, and I've been working on Yupo paper, which is a synthetic, opaque, a wonderful paper. It's a plastic, really. And a funny story about that, when my wife was pregnant with my twin boys, I wasn't able to get to my studio that much, and as a result I had to continue working at home, and so that's when I decided to continue working in ink, predominantly for some time, and until I could get back to my studio. And so but for the longest time I was struggling with it because I was trying to get my ink paintings to look like my oil paintings, and in terms of the technique and the approach, and it's completely two different mediums, and it caused a lot of pain, I'll tell you that. So because ink would dry so quickly, oil takes its time, and so I was frustrated a lot. So I ended up actually at one point just giving up and just saying, you know what, I'm going to let the ink do what it wants, because I was fighting it so much. So I'm going to let the ink do what it wants, and it dries quickly, but combining that with that Yupo paper, it doesn't get absorbed. It almost just hovers right on top of it for a little bit, and that little split second of it allows me to blend, to blur, move it with my hands, push it in two directions. And so the transparency of the oil in combination with the medium of the Yupo paper created these wonderful surfaces and these wonderful mark making techniques that I really started enjoying. So much so to the point that when I continued doing my ink drawings, that when I was getting back into my oil paintings, I wanted my oil paintings to look like my ink drawings. And I'm still kind of playing with that, but what are you going to do?
With what kind of intensity do you approach your work?
I would say discipline is probably the first approach. I think being disciplined has a big influence in the work that I do. Um, I have to be dedicated. I have to respect. I respect the studio space. I respect my work. I dedicate time to it, and I don't know. I think everything else follows. Um, I don't want to say I'm obsessive about it, but a hard worker, yes, for sure.
Intensity, that's good. Well, I think it really depends on the type of work that I'm going to be doing that day in the studio. Some work is approached with more of a sense of immediacy because I want to convey that sense of mark making into the work. And then some are more methodically approached, methodically planned out. And they all come from sketches in my sketchbook that is just filled with ideas. But then, depending upon what medium I'm going to use or what approach I'm going to take, really depends on where it's going to go.
Who are your biggest influences?
Well, there's a long list of artists, um, especially with social media. I think there's a lot more that I'm aware of, but I want to say a few that I really look up to. Jenny Seville, she's from the UK. Dori Salcedo, Colombian artist. Gabriel Orozco from Mexico. David Hockney from the UK. William Kenridge from South Africa. And Alice Neal from the US. Each one has a totally different approach to their concept, to their material, the medium, and just it just motivates me to really explore. You know, there's really there's no boundaries to what an artist can do. So, you know, I go check them out.
Yeah, the opportunity to move to New York City and assist in the formation of a gallery really opened up a lot of opportunities for me. And I couldn't have done it without the help of Mike Lathrop. So again, I thank you. But while I was there, the gallery that we worked at, MB Modern, had represented the work of a number of professional artists who were so kind in giving me advice and instruction as well. One of the instructors was Peter Cox, who taught at the New York Figurative Academy. Another was Bernard Chait, who was a former instructor at Yale University. And still another was Catherine Redmond, who taught at the Art Students League. And again, I thank them for what they presented with me and allowing me to sometimes invade their studios and give me instruction. But other influences as well was Louis Newman, who was the gallery director, who I'm still friends with. And he really taught me the importance of professionalism within the arts, a big influence. And another two influences were current New Yorkers and painters, Hugo Bastidas and Charles Yoder, both of who welcomed me early in my years in New York and invited me to go to functions with other artists. Wonderful times, and I thank them as well.
How do you continue to develop your career as an artist, and how do you seek out opportunities?
A simple way to seek out opportunities can be by reaching out to your friends, to artist friends in the community. I think that's a quick way, and also sharing opportunities with them as well, through a text and email. There's just so many ways to communicate now. Another one is through like NALAC or the Artist Foundation. like New York Artist Foundation. Um, there's different national associations that share opportunities either through grants, residencies, and sometimes just going out of town and visiting museums, visiting gallery openings. That's another way that I'm trying to approach to kind of expand on that side of my art career.
Mainly by exposing my work to a greater audience as much as I possibly can. In some cases, I've been fortunate where one event will lead to another event, and of course making sure that you have enough work in your inventory, but also being receptive to new project ideas if anybody approach you about that.
A studio is an artist sanctuary. Can you describe your studio and your process in this space? Or if you don't have a studio, what's your experience like when you work from home?
So I work from home. Um, my studio used to be a two-car garage, so I have a lot of flat file cabinets, um, a lot of shelving for my paints. Mm, I have some large pieces on that side stacked against the wall. Um, but overall, pretty messy. Um, yeah, that's how it's supposed to look.
I'm fortunate enough to be able to have two studios at the time, one on campus and one at home, a small one at home. But um, the difference between the two studios, well, the studio on campus allows me to explore much larger works. It's a bit more cluttered, as you can see, but I have it posted with a lot of influences, postcards, things of that sort, as well as photographs of family members, books, experiments, things of that sort, a lot of drawings. Some may lead to something, some may not, but it's a wonderful space to have. At home, it's a bit more modest. It's a bedroom that I have that I've converted into a studio. And there I tend to work more on my smaller pieces as well as my ink drawings. Not too many more of the oil paintings are made there.
What does the future hold for you after this exhibit? Will you continue to work in the medium you are currently working within? Or are you interested in going a different direction in your creative process?
Well, with everything that's going on around the world, um, I think things are pretty uncertain with exhibits or opportunities. Everything's You can't really plan for that, what's going to happen. But what I do know is that I have plenty of supplies, and I'm going to focus in the studio, keep experimenting with different mediums, um, just keep on growing as an artist. I think we're very fortunate that we have technology, so I do see a lot of artist interviews or documentaries. Um, that also keeps me inspired and motivated to see how other people work. I think that's the best thing that we can do. Just continue to create art.
Well, considering the current situation, I'm not entirely sure if my upcoming exhibitions or projects um, are going to continue or if they're going to be postponed. In June, I'm scheduled to have an exhibition at K-Space Contemporary down here in Corpus Christi. In June, I'm also scheduled to be participating on a panel discussion at the Mexe Arte Museum in Austin, where there's going to be a retrospective of the work of my former mentor, Fernando Andrade. In the fall, I'm organizing a group show of painters that's going to be taking place down at South Texas College. And in the fall as well, I'm going to be participating in a symposium, a painting symposium at Texas Tech that I'm helping organize. Be on the lookout for that.
What advice would you give an emerging artist who is new to the art scene and is still shaping their voice as they navigate the art world?
Well, for sure, hard work. I think there's no other way around that. Stay focused. you have to make sacrifices, either spending less money on other things to buy art supplies, or also with time. You're gonna have to cut time somewhere to be in the studio to create work. Um, Surround yourself with people that inspire you. They don't have to be in the arts. Just people that inspire you, motivate you, that are positive. And I think that's it for now.
I would say that you have to really want this because this is not an easy career choice. It's really difficult. The advice I always give to my students is that for the rest of your life, you're going to have two jobs. One that is going to pay the bills and your studio time. So, and you can't let the studio time go by the wayside. So, let's say you have a family. That's three jobs. That's three full-time jobs. Let's say you have an ailing family member. That's four jobs. But even through all of that, you cannot let your studio time go to the wayside. You have to find a way to adjust and accommodate and make it work. The other thing I would say is be ready for the hard reviews, the good reviews, everything that comes with it, the good with the bad. It's all part of the process of it. So just take it in stride and continue. Learn from it and continue. And the other thing I would say is don't try to jump on the trends. Just do what you want to make. Make what you want to create. Just be honest with your work. Don't try to jump on any trends. Trends die, and people will be able to tell if you're faking it. So if you're really putting forth your time and effort into what you believe in, into what you're working in, people will notice. So a friend of mine once told me that when it's personal, then it's more universal.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank our artists for sharing their insights with all of us at Presa House Gallery. And in a special way, I would like to thank all those men and women who are serving in the medical field at this time, who are in the front lines, putting their lives at risk so that we might be safe and protected. And for all those other men and women who are working to bring food to our tables, to serve in every capacity that they can to keep our community running and thriving. So to them and to all our leaders taking action to keep us safe, thank you very much. And thank you again to Rigo and Janelle for allowing me this opportunity to come and share in this experience of having a conversation with these artists and to exploring their beautiful work. And yeah, thank you so much.
We gotta stay positive during these times, and we appreciate what we have. That's it.
Again, I would like to thank Presa House for this wonderful opportunity to exhibit there at the gallery, as well as to exhibit with Fernando Andrade. And the entire experience was absolutely wonderful, and I couldn't have been more pleased. Thank you again.